Welcome to day 3 of week 2 in social media training. This week, we are talking about the 4 basic types of content. This week, we're talking about the 4 basic types of content. And yesterday, we started with value content, which needs to be truly the bulk of your post, where you're adding value to other people. Today, we're going to talk about connection content. Connection is where you're building those relationships and you're connecting with people that are probably a lot like you. And so, how do you do that? Well, you share the things that are important to you, and it can be across the board. It doesn't have to be anything to do with cooking or dinner time or any of that. It could be, if you're a dog lover or a cat lover, it could be maybe a sport that you're most interested in. It could be your belief system. And here's the thing. Every single post that you are making, especially in connection posts, need to speak to a particular kind of person. We have had a tendency in the past to just like throw the spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And what we're finding is that that's just a really scattered approach. And it's so much better to narrow in on who your audience is. And here's the thing, your audience is probably going to look different than my audience. And that's okay, because your audience is going to be drawn to you because of the things that you believe in, the things that you're interested in. To give an example, somebody I know in this industry is incredibly into Harley Davidson motorcycles. So guess who she attracts? A lot of other Harley drivers, right? She posts stuff about her Harley rides. She's really into it. It comes up in her news feed, and so she's going to attract those kinds of people. I'm never going to be that person who attracts Harley Davidson motorcyclists. Now, might I have someone occasionally order from me? Of course, because there's always going to be that. But your primary audience, the people you want to focus in on, are people who are probably a lot like you. And it's not throwing everybody else out, but it is narrowing your focus, which is going to make your content so much better and so much more appealing to the primary people that you are probably going to end up selling your products to. There is a lot of value. If you think about something like light, you can light up a room with a lamp, right? But it does not have nearly as much power as when it's focused into a laser beam, which can then actually cut things, right? So it's kind of the same concept. You want to narrow your focus and be talking to people who are probably a lot like you. Your dream customer is probably a lot like you, which is going to make them different than me. And that's okay. We all have different age groups and types of people that we're going to speak to, and we need to, and that's okay. So just keep that in mind. I actually have a little post-it note, and this was from a very old Kristen Boss training, very old as in probably 2 years old, but in this type of training, I mean, specific social media training has only been out for a couple of years. It kind of came out of the hot mess of COVID. And so this was from a very early thing I saw her do. And she has 4 questions that she asks before she posts anything. Who is the content for? What is this person need or struggle with? What useful tip can I give to either educate, empower, or entertain? And then what do I want her to do? So that's a kind of a simple framework that can work for any of these 4 content types. But just keep in mind, when it comes to connection content, you're looking for people like you. So you want to post about what you're like, because that's going to draw more people like you to you. So a couple things about connection posts to know. They do tend to get the most engagement. So I just actually put one up right before I started this video, and within not even 20, 30 seconds, somebody sent me a DM about my post, and it was very much a connection post. It was sharing a piece of my family history and asking the question about, family traditions, and I posted a really old picture of my kids. And again, it's making connections with people. It's saying, oh, And exactly the DM I got was, wow, I talked in this post about now that my kids are out of the house, and the person who reached out to me said, my kids are in their early adult years now. They're in high school and college and starting to move out, and she's wondering how she's going to navigate all of this. And so again, it's building a connection with this person. Um, this actually four-part training comes from a guy named Bob Heilig, who is a mastermind in social media training. And he said something that I think is super profound. He says, don't trade your authenticity for someone else's opinion. We can get really nervous about sharing deeper things inside on social media, right? Because there's going to be that person who posts something negative. I had that happen last week. And I'm not even sure what this person meant by her post, but it was negative and it was like, okay, I'm not your person. I'm okay with that. But that's a hard pill to swallow. We all want to be liked, right? And I actually just today heard somebody say this, and I thought it was brilliant. Disneyland, the happiest place on earth, Disney World, right? Still gets negative reviews, right? They still get negative reviews. You cannot please everybody. So don't even try. Instead, work on speaking to the person who is your ideal customer, who again is probably someone a lot like you. Um, it is not about your biggest following. It is better to have less followers who love what you have to offer than to have thousands of followers who aren't paying attention. So again, it's that idea of it's okay to narrow your focus because you're going to find the people who really want what you have to offer when you do that. Um, and in fact, you don't find them, they're going to find you. And it's all done by creating these four different types of content. Today's all about connection. This is probably the one that can trip most people up because you want to be authentic. You want to be a little more bold about the things that you believe. And that may turn some people off and that may give you resistance to posting. I know it does for me. It's really hard for me to be a little more bold about some things on social media because I'm a people pleaser. I want everybody to like me. I want everybody to be happy. And I've had to learn to let go of that, especially because I live in a small town. So I could easily run into people that are going to disagree with some of the things I post. I could run into them at the grocery store, and I don't want them to turn away from me. I want to still be their friend. So it can bring up stuff. Now, I will say there is a way to share things that might be controversial in a way that does not build animosity. There's always going to be people who are going to just, be very black and white. But most people have a lot of middle ground that you can meet them in. So if you feel like you are posting something that might rub somebody the wrong way, just be mindful of how you're posting it. Now, I will go back to the very beginning. Do not, I repeat, do not ever, 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 unless these are the people you want to attract, do not post about politics. Period. The end. Done. Unless those are the people you're looking to bring to you for business. Because politics is that one thing. They say don't talk about politics and religion. I think you can talk about religion carefully, mindfully, respectfully. It's almost impossible to talk about politics and not light a fire you just don't want to be lighting. So just do keep that in mind. That politics is something I absolutely hands down will not talk about on social media because I don't see it serving anybody well at all. And I think that's the other big difference is you're not going to change anybody's mind on social media by ranting about any kind of political anything. You're really not. That comes in relationship. And so if for no other reason, unless you just you want to attract like-minded people who believe what you do about political things, unless that's your goal, stay away from it. You're not going to do yourself or anybody else any good. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Um, Again, you get to do what you decide to do, but just know that it can affect things in a way that you might not want them to. Okay? All right. I think that is it. Oh, just to go back, you will probably get the most engagement on your connection posts. I mentioned that a minute ago. Um, but just remember, that doesn't mean your other posts aren't being seen. Just because people aren't commenting doesn't mean they aren't watching. If there's one thing I have learned in the last couple years, is just because they're not commenting or just because they're not hitting that like button doesn't mean they aren't seeing what you're putting out there. So while you'll get a lot of um, dopamine hits from seeing likes and comments on your connection posts, they still should be in the minority. So value posts being number one, and I think I said something about 80%. Just to be on the maybe easier side of things, you could probably be more like 60%. And as we get through this, I'll actually give you a weekly calendar that I use that kind of divides this all up. So you can say, okay, on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'll be posting about value stuff, and on Tuesday, I'll do a connection post, and on Thursday, I might do something that's like a testimony, and you can plan things out that way. But connection is going to get the most traction, and so it's really tempting to want to say, oh, this is getting much more traction, so I should be doing this more often. Not necessarily. um, People can get to know you really well but not know what you can do for them if you put too many connection posts up. So hope that makes some sense. Again, if you get stuck, and this is, like I said, this is one that can easily be a sticky point for all of us. Connection posts, please reach out, and we'll talk it through and see how we can get you unstuck. Okay? All right, come back tomorrow for week 2, lesson number 4, which will be all about proof posts. I'll see you then.